Mario Kart DS, the most famous handheld game ever made in history. No, really, I'm not kidding. They sold over 23 million copies.
Here comes the money!
Here we go.
It was the 5th installment of the Mario Kart series and the second for a handheld console. Unlike its predecessor Mario Kart Double Dash, it retains the traditional single-driver kart racing elements from the Mario Kart series. Now, this was the first handheld title to use live rendered 3D graphics for most of the objects in the game, including characters, vehicles, and racing tracks. Before that, we had games like Mario Kart Super Circuit, where they tried to create 3D by using a little trick called Mode 7. So now that they had the DS and a lot more power in the system, they could do some really cool things. However, with these new options came a lot of experimenting and trial and error. So today we are going to take a look at that. And to be more specific, the prototype build of this game that was mostly shown to the press and at promotional events. Because there are some weird things hidden in the files, and today we are focusing on the early versions of the tracks seen in the final game. So let's dive into it straight away. Even though only the courses from what would become the Mushroom and Shell Cup can normally be accessed, all of the tracks are present and can be played with the debug menu or action replay codes. For some reason, using the latter on real hardware will cause many of these courses to either load incorrectly or outright crash the game. Now we will start out with Yoshi Falls. Here is one big difference. The giant Yoshi egg in the center of the course is missing. This is only there for looks really, however it's quite a big element missing from the map. And why it isn't there is unknown. It probably wasn't implemented yet, because it was quite an early build after all. Next, Luigi's mansion. Here there are a couple of things different, like the paintings in the mansion shake and stretch out from the wall, a little detail that was disabled in the final game, but restored in Mario Kart 7.
Now it all works on the beta version of the map where this feature is on, so the console could handle it and there are no problems as far as we can see. And because they put it back in the following handheld game for the 3DS, we are kind of confused. They liked it enough to put it in the next title, but why not put it in the DS one in first place? We really have no clue why they made this choice, so it'll remain a mystery, sadly enough. Now, there is another cosmetic thing in this map that was removed. A different start. The stage contains an unused camera intro sequence with a view from the moon and the front side of the mansion that was replaced by a view through the door. Looking at both of them, you can easily see why they changed this. The one seen in the final game looks a lot better, so they probably changed it for that reason. Next, Desert Hills. Here are a couple of crucial elements of the map not implemented at all, like the intro and music for the course aren't finished. The touchscreen map is also different. It's for an earlier version of the course, with an oasis where the pyramid is in the final game. Even the angry sun hasn't been implemented yet, so the fire snakes just fall out of the sky and the fireballs that make up the fire snakes use a different texture. Clearly this map was in an extremely early stage of development. Huge parts of it weren't even close to completed. It's interesting to see this map still function though, despite missing crucial elements of it. Next, Tick-Tock Clock. Here we even come across certain assets that look a lot like ones seen in other DS games, strangely enough. The decorative clock hands in the style of Super Mario 64 DS, resting on top of the giant clock face, were removed. Now, it's weird in the first place that they look like the ones seen in Super Mario 64 DS. Maybe it's a placeholder that was eventually removed altogether. It doesn't add a whole lot to the map after all, and to be honest, looked quite weird, so it was a good choice according to us. Now, there was also another thing changed, the strip of 5 moving item boxes that follow the one pendulum in the course. This was changed in the final version to a generic row of non-moving item boxes. This, yet again, kind of confuses us. They weren't too hard to get to, and everyone had to deal with this extra difficulty, so why change this? Next, Bowser's Castle. Here there are a couple of things missing, and one is extremely broken. But first the thwomps in this course. There are a couple of differences here, and maybe unintentional. The one that appears sliding back and forth in the castle's entrance was removed. Maybe because it became a bit too difficult to deal with. There are already 2 other ones behind it after all, doing a completely different move. Now, this isn't all, because there's also one thwomp after the rotating portion with the fire bars that does something weird. It does its drop smash behavior instead of the final's sliding back and forth behavior. Now, we don't know if it was supposed to do this and that they later changed this behavior, or if this was a bug of some sorts. Luckily enough, none of these things break the game in any way. They're just little changes and mistakes. But there is one massive bug with the CPU players in this map. They get stuck if they fall off the rotating cylinder. So, as you could imagine, this is quite a big issue. Luckily enough, this was fixed in the final version.
Now for our last map, GBA Bowser Castle 2. Here are a couple of interesting things as well, like the ramps in this map, because they are far less useful than in the final game, as you lose most of your momentum when you land. Obviously, this wasn't their purpose. You're supposed to use them to your advantage, but clearly there was something wrong with them. We don't exactly know why this happens, but by looking at the footage, we can see that they have a lot of upward momentum and not forward. So it could be that it tends to throw you high up, but not very far, killing your speed. Now there's also something odd with the thwomps in this course. They are very small in size, just like in Mario Kart Super Circuit. This was fixed in the end with a small tweak, because their design is the same, just their size changed. They probably did this to make it a bit harder to dodge them, because they were extremely small in this prototype version. Now, this isn't all. There is so much in this prototype version of the game that we could make 2 more videos easily. Early versions of items, enemies, assets, modes, and way more. So if you want to see this, then be sure to vote in the poll in the upper right corner. And if enough people want more, then we will go deeper inside the dark and mysterious files of this strange build. And maybe we will find more incredible things. Hey there, you're at the end of the video, you know what that means. Why aren't you clicking the subscribe and the bell button? Don't you want more content? Don't you want more prototype videos? Vote in that poll, click that bell button, click subscribe, like, comment, kick the horse, throw the midget. You know what to do. Thank you, lovely.